Welcome back to Say It Is with Brennan and Tyler. New year, new season, new bumper music. We got a guest for the first one of the year, being Nick Bruesewitz over at WTSO. Nick, don't you also write for an online publication?
I do. I work for RotoWire, which is a fantasy sports company, a database, and any updates you ever read on a fantasy sports team, even NHL fantasy, you click on it, you'll see, hey, presented by, brought to you by, written by RotoWire. So that's what we do. In the past, I've worked for Badgers Wire as well, which is a USA Today publication, but trying to do the 3 jobs didn't work out as well as I wanted it to, so we're at 2 at this point.
Gotcha. And, well, our focus for this one, guys, is mostly the NIL transfer portal stuff going on over at college sports, and we're also going to cover a little bit of the RSNs that are affecting the 3 major sports that, I'm going to say 3 because I'm not including the NFL since they're all nationally broadcasted.
Right.
So what's going on with the whole NIL transfer portal? Like, I listened to some interviews, I read some stuff. It's like a giant mess.
Yeah, it's like Major League Baseball, but even more of like the Wild West. I mean, it just truly depends on individual schools and whatever money that they can essentially fundraise for themselves or have donated. And you've seen some of those perennial powerhouses lose their grasp. Well, most notably, you look at college football and you see last couple of years, Alabama has fallen not to the middle of the pack, but no longer a front runner, no longer, in that upper echelon of contenders. They're up there, but Indiana, a school that was terrible for their entire history, is national championship caliber. And it did not take a series of years. It took 2 years and massive contributions from donors like Mark Cuban to help them fuel a roster, build a roster, and essentially pay for a team that can be competitive. And some of these other programs that aren't necessarily in that same level of income bracket in alumni are now not in the same level to compete.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, if you take a look at, like you said, Indiana, they were terrible until they got good 2 years,
Yeah.
Excuse me.
You're good.
For the last 2 years. And now they're on their way to maybe winning a national championship. Take a look at our own home state, Wisconsin, for example. Look how broke they are. Look how terrible they were this year.
Right. I think you look at NIL and what it was essentially supposed to be and what it has turned into, and Wisconsin was slow to embrace the idea of essentially, I think begging is the wrong word, but kind of parading around looking for extra money, and they didn't establish the collective before the NIL era began. So you have trouble competing with other teams when, first and foremost, you just don't have an alumni base of super wealthy donors.
No.
This is a school that, for honest to God, for the first, I don't know how many years until 2000-ish, mid-90s, you didn't really feel like was really an athletic school when you look at football in particular. Like, this is a school of higher intellect. This is a academic school first versus athletic second. And
business, technology, engineering. My thing is that since, they turned into the universities of Wisconsin, and not like the UW system anymore. We've seen, Lacrosse, Stevens Point, Whitewater, Platteville. They're all, they were all there for a very, very long time until they became all kind of one collective thing around UW. But my thing is that, like, you're right. UW is not a football school. It is a academically, we're more academic in this state than we are for our sports.
right.
And that's what I'm thinking. But now, like last year, you're seeing like all these college kids going to a football game. Yes, that's part of college. I would say that should be part of college, but you don't need it. You really don't.
Well, when you look at the Badgers, too, it speaks to just the level of coach that Barry Alvarez was, just the level of consistency that he provided, that this was able to be built up into a perennial contender in the Big Ten, and then a team that was playing in Rose Bowls consistently, a team that people were feeling is one win short of being in the national championship conversation. And they were doing it with lesser resources. In the history of this school, at this particular program has never had a 100-yard practice field. Wisconsin has never had a practice field that's 100 yards.
I did not know
Their
that.
outdoor practice field is 80 yards. Their indoor practice field is 80 yards.
Wow.
They've never been able to even practice on the full-length field. It just speaks to, for almost the entirety of its history, football in particular was not necessarily a priority.
No.
And they won so many games. They were so consistent. They built up such a strong fan base that now the expectation is every year you compete. And whether it is Luke Fickell and coming in and expecting different resources than he's got, or poor coaching paired with the resources, or simply just terrible luck, Wisconsin has found themselves really clawing to get back to relevance versus competing for championships. And so you look at this year, you look at what they've done in the portal, upper 20s now, and players added in this season's transfer portal. They lost a ton of players late in their recruiting class. They added resources, which we'll never know exactly how many resources are at their disposal, towards bringing in a team in the transfer portal. And we're all just crossing our fingers that can be paired with next season and have a better year.
Well, isn't that also happening with like the basketball and hockey teams?
It is, but it's to a lesser degree, right? I mean,
Right.
we all know football drives every program in the country outside of maybe Duke, North Carolina. Like basketball is their their key sport, but you would still see more resources go towards football than basketball. But comparatively, percentage-wise, resources are being funneled off to basketball at more primary basketball schools.
That could be said true to Wisconsin as well, because I've seen Wisconsin basketball, men and women's, they do a lot better than our football team.
Yeah.
I know football's a completely different sport, but basketball and hockey have brought in probably more pay and more numbers in fan base over the last, I would say, about a year and a half.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really frustrated with the football team,
Yeah.
but I do think that there's value in having a coach that can do more with less. And essentially, Greg Gard has been able to do that. We look at their roster and how they built it over the last few seasons. People will say, wow, look at what they did in the transfer portal. They got John Tonje last year. They got A.J. Storr the year before. But that's also paired with having a ton of homegrown guys that are kind of the core of your team. And if you look at this season, there are 3 guys from last year's team that remained in the rotation, 2 of which are starters, Nolan Winter and John Blackwell, who are both in their 3rd year, who have both been progressing each season, getting that much better. And then you can use your resources to supplement your roster or complement your roster, and then you move on from there. And so Nick Boyd this year, they add him. He's huge. He's great. But there really isn't the potential of being good and being as good as they are, I should say, without having homegrown talent and being creative with your resources. I know for a fact that the basketball team would love to have more resources, but as it stands, it's kind of essentially ratioed based off of what kind of income you bring in, and football is primarily the revenue builder for the university. And that carries as well with hockey. I mean, you bring in the right coach in hockey, the players come with. Football is a little bit different of a beast. Mike Hastings clearly was the right hire, and their production on the ice outside of Michigan State this past week was pretty great.
Yeah.
Well, like the college football is the second highest revenue of all of sports.
Yeah, outside of the NFL.
Yeah.
Second highest and the second watched.
Right.
Most
Yes.
highest sport.
Football. I mean, just in general, right? It tells you what professional football and then collegiate football, which is now essentially semi-pro football, are the drivers.
Yeah. Now, I did grab a 50-second clip of a interview that Ted Cruz actually did with Bruce Pearl. And he talks a little bit of like how everything's currently done is with the non-revenue sports is hurting college sports as a whole in terms of revenue, and they're losing money. So I'll go ahead and click that quick.
So, where are we right now? Number one, we need to recognize the urgency. This has to be fixed because for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, women's sports being cut, non-revenue sports like tennis being cut. We're losing money. There is so much more revenue to be gained. The NBA is like the 5th or 6th most watched sport in America.
Yep.
College football's number 2.
Yeah.
The NBA makes like twice as much money on their television contracts than college football.
Why is that, by the way?
Because the NBA bargained with the television as a unit, as the National Basketball Association. College football, the SEC's got their contract with ESPN and the ABC.
ACC's got
the
their
Big
Big
12
Ten,
got their
yeah.
whatever, and we've left a lot of money on the table. College football needs to become college football and maximize their revenues, which will help pay for everybody else.
He's pretty dead on.
Well, and when you talk about these non-revenue sports, to speak to Wisconsin, which I'm certainly most familiar with being here and being around these programs, I mean, they destroyed the indoor track. The track team here at Wisconsin doesn't have an indoor track. I mean,
Right.
they're working out, they're practicing, they're doing outdoor because
Stuff.
that's the only opportunity they
Yeah.
have. That's the only option they have because they destroyed the shell, and inside the shell had the indoor track. And as they build back this new workout facility, this new practice facility for the football team, I mean, there's no indoor track opportunity right now for the other programs.
Why
And
did they destroy the shell?
because they're building in a new, bigger indoor practice facility for the
That's
football team.
stupid.
As I highlighted, the football team still needs an indoor facility to practice, and as it's being built alongside it, right next to it, they are currently still practicing inside the Dave McClain facility. I think the new one is named after Kellner. I'm not 100% on that, but that's still a couple years out from being opened and set to go. So as it stands, you have an indoor practice facility for the football team right next to where the indoor practice facility for the football team is being built. I mean, the football needs to do better. I mean, they lost a significant amount of butts and seats this year. If you're losing revenue on game day in that regard, you're really in a tough spot.
Towards the end of the season, I saw pictures, and that went like that almost entire stadium was.
Yeah, well, they didn't
was
play
vacant.
well. They did not play
Well,
well
no,
at home.
yeah.
The last 2 games, home games, were great wins. The fans were able to storm the field. Those that were in attendance, right? You beat Illinois, you beat Northwestern, then you beat Illinois. So that's a great way to end your year. But sandwiched in the middle, you had back-to-back shutout losses to Iowa and then Ohio State. And, I mean, they hadn't seen a shutout in, I think it was nearly 30 years at Camp Randall. And then you have back-to-back.
Yeah. So like with them, like each of these teams, especially like the ones that were losing revenue and not having butts and seats, does that come from like higher ticket costs due to either people costing more money, inflation, upkeep of buildings and whatnot?
In my opinion, it wouldn't be higher ticket costs because I would believe that anybody, no matter what, if you go to a game that they're losing, if you go to a game that they're winning, that they're going to pay that ticket price and they're going to go because they're supporting their team. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I would agree with that sentiment a little bit more than the cost. I think that Badger fans have been seeing costs rise every single year. I mean, these season ticket holders see the increase annually, and they get frustrated about it, but they pay it because they love their team and they're passionate
Right.
about the product that's on the field.
And I'll talk about MLB here for a second. I'm a White Sox fan, first and foremost.
Great.
And I've seen, I've been to, I didn't go to a couple of games during that horrible season that they had, but I still would want it to go because I wanted to support my team, even though they were the worst team in the MLB.
You could buy those tickets for like $5.
Yeah, I get that, but it's not about the cost.
That's true.
It's about supporting your team. It's about fan base.
Yes.
Because if that fan base goes, then you don't really have a team anymore.
No.
Right.
Then it might as well just contract.
And that's why, like I said, going off of MLB for a second, that's why I don't think the White Sox will move out of the state because there's such a strong fan base down in the South Side that they're kind of boycotting them leaving.
Well, the frustration there isn't necessarily with the team; it's the ownership, right? I mean, when you look at the White Sox, Reinsdorf is a player, a coach, an owner that many are frustrated with. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go about this. Fans are frustrated with X, Y, and Z, but Jerry's the reason there with the White Sox that people are frustrated.
And I also read this about this recently that Reinsdorf isn't even like part of baseball operations anymore. He's doing the finance.
Right.
And now the new owners, that's why we're getting these trades. That's why we're getting, finally getting our team rebuilt because Jerry is not in command of the operations anymore.
And that's what, to bring it back to the Badgers, I mean,
Right.
that's what a lot of frustration is right now. People think it's Chris McIntosh, right? They blame him for the failures. It was his hire, Luke Fickell. Why didn't you hire Jim Leonard, the homegrown guy, the guy that everybody loves here? And it clearly hasn't worked.
I don't think it's because of the coaching. I just think it's because of the ownership.
Right. And you're worried about the path forward with Luke Fickell when you consider the variables that he has been dealt. Specifically, I think there was an expectation that he would have more competitive resources to work with in the transfer portal and to build out his roster and add these high school players and recruit them. It's his job to get these people by any means necessary. But he's been dealt, I think, shorter resources, paired with quarterback injuries and paired with a lot of different problems. But from an NIL perspective, we all recognize it's all broken, right? I mean, I don't think NIL is ever intended to be a direct pay your player, here's a salary. Any team can come up with the money to pay a player to come back. You see Oregon, first and foremost, they're able to entice Dylan Raiola to come back and then pay Dante Moore $7.5 million to play college football for one season, right? So there are problems that exist. Quarterbacks, just 2 years ago, it was like, okay, yeah, they cost somewhere between $1 and $3 million, and everyone's jaw was on the floor. You kidding me? A college player making $1 and $3 million? It's not that anymore. It's twice that, maybe even nearly 3 times if we're talking about the highest caliber quarterback out there.
Well, it's like with the are the universities paying for these or the NIL deals, or are the students having to go after them themselves?
The universities are not necessarily directly paying these players, but it's coming out of a pool of money that is given to the university in NIL collectives and donorships. I mean, now
That's why they have the portal.
Right, and there's going to be this $20 million rev share situation where every program in the country is given this pool of money to work with for all of their athletic programs. Well, that doesn't preclude any school from having additional resources donated. Phil Knight, Nike, is the guy at Oregon. He runs Nike. He's the CEO of Nike. He has endless pools of money, and he's a fan of the Ducks, and he donates to the Ducks, and that's fine. So they're trying to lay essentially a salary floor, so every program has the same resources to work with from the beginning, but that's not stopping additional programs from having, levels of money that are gathered via donations, gathered via, fundraising, gathered in other ways to put towards your student athletes. And you can do it however you see fit. I mean, there's not, hey, this much needs to go to hockey, this much needs to go to baseball, no, it is however you see fit, and that's where you're seeing programs get cut.
So have you ever came up with any ideas yourself of what could be possibly done to fix it?
Yeah, I think that just like baseball, college football, college in general, sports would certainly benefit from some level of a salary cap, right? I mean, some level of everyone has the same level of resources to work with. It's just problematic because, the idea was out of the NIL was, each school essentially would have the opportunity for their players to seek out whatever endorsement deals, right? Hey, I'm going to be on a box of Wheaties in the local Ohio grocery store, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be on a commercial for our local car dealership,
And
right?
that's what you're seeing with the professional athletes that have retired as well. They kind of sell themselves out to all these commercial companies. And
that's what NIL was supposed to be. It was essentially the opportunity for the students to benefit from their name, their image, and their likeness, NIL, right? And you look to guys of the past like Johnny Manziel, who was, in hot water, got in trouble for signing autographs. Signing his own name. Right? That's my name. I should be able to sign whatever the hell I want.
And get paid for it.
Right? Because how else are you going to capitalize off of your collegiate career? How is it fair that there are billions and billions of dollars going towards the NCAA?
We know that as soon as you sign a contract with, Wisconsin or Illinois, they don't pay you.
Right.
They don't pay college athletes.
Right. And now they are.
Well, now they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they are. Right. When you were signing your letter of intent in name of year 2005, you were just signing to essentially receive a full ride scholarship, which has great benefit, but when you're a world-class athlete and you're essentially looking to move on to the next level and play professional sports, I mean, you're not necessarily finishing these degrees. And that is its own problem that we could dive into if we really wanted to, but it's quite the rabbit hole to go down. Should these students be getting full ride scholarships anymore if they're getting paid as much as they are? And could those scholarships go towards students that are just seeking academic degrees instead of playing sports. And
Right.
Look, my idea would be like if we were to say the students have to go after the sponsorships themselves,
yeah.
and the university has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. The students could also lose their scholarship if they don't wait at least 2 years before doing transfer portal.
Right.
Well, yeah, at the same time, they don't have to wait to go use the transfer portal, right? But that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so
bit
many
more
different
regulations.
ideas, I think common sense ideas that people have embraced. Just like in the past, you can transfer once. And then additional transfer would be as a result of a coach being fired, extenuating circumstances that would lend towards, okay, yeah, it makes sense. You should be able to move on. Otherwise, like in the past, when you would transfer, you would miss time. You would miss a season. You would be in a position where you weren't eligible to play right away.
And that goes into your academics as well.
Right. And these guys, for example, you look at Carson Beck, quarterback for Miami, formerly with Georgia. I mean, this is like 6th or 7th season of college football, and he's currently not taking any classes because he is a graduate student. The fall semester has ended. The spring semester hasn't started yet, and he's not required to take classes in the spring semester with his career essentially now over following the national championship game. It is over, but it's all like wishy-washy, and the NCAA doesn't want to rule with an iron fist. They're really letting it be free range, whatever the hell you want to do, whenever you want to do it. We saw that example here with Xavier Lucas, the cornerback, this past season with Wisconsin. It's not disclosed to us every day, folks, us average Joes, exactly what was signed, but from a Wisconsin perspective, and I think from a legal perspective, he signed a contract to make a sum of money here at Wisconsin and be a Wisconsin Badger during the 2025 college football season. And so they were able to find a loophole, him and his attorneys, that he would not transfer, but he would unenroll at Wisconsin and re-enroll in Miami as a student, and thus then became eligible to play for their football team. So Xavier Lucas kind of pulls a fast one that's still working its way through the courts right now. And the Badgers who cares anymore, right? I mean, it's not like it really matters to the fans if they win or lose in this lawsuit. And then you saw this year, quarterback DeMond Williams for Washington signed a deal to return to Washington and get paid X amount of money, and then had second thoughts because he knew he could make more money elsewhere and tried to enter the transfer portal. He quickly retracted that. Now he's back with the team. Because I do think that from last year to this year, something, somewhere, language and contracts changed where, okay, there's no way you can get out of this. Zero way. But people are trying and bending rules and trying to find ways to make as much money as possible. You can't fault the student athlete completely for trying to make as much money as possible, but there is standards. There are, levels of moral ground that you need to stay on, and you need to make sure that you find yourself in a position where, at the end of the day, you're doing what's best for you, but you're also not acting in a shady fashion or doing something that I think is nefarious or gross. There's that problem, and you made mention of the transfer portal. There's arguments about eligibility and if they need to have a fixed amount. Guys are getting extra years for weird reasons. Wisconsin had a cornerback this past season, Nizier Fortgreen, who was seeking another year of eligibility, trying to claim ultimately that his first season at Grand Valley State, which is a lower level school, Division II school, shouldn't have counted towards his eligibility. He was dealing with family hardship. He was only active for, I think, 6 or 7 of those games, which is past the current limit for a redshirt, but he played like 11 snaps. And they said, okay, we're going to rule on this by the beginning of the season. Okay, we're going to rule on this by the end of October. We're going to rule. They never made a ruling. So he missed the entire season, could have made the next level, potentially. He was in the Senior Bowl this past year, could have gone to the NFL. Who knows where he would have been, maybe undrafted, maybe never even got a chance in the league. But he never got the chance to even make that decision because he was under the impression he'd be able to return to Wisconsin. He practiced with the team all season long, was never ruled eligible, withdrew his appeal, and now he's in no man's land. So there are so many different issues. It doesn't benefit the student athlete. It doesn't benefit these programs. And you need to get this thing reeled in and figured out, because I do think that at some point people are going to start to sour to the product, which is the second most popular product in terms of sports here in the U.S.
Yeah. Now I would like to completely pivot over to the RSNs. We know the RSNs are failing for baseball, hockey, and basketball. It's affecting, like, mostly like for baseball terms, it's affecting essentially everyone but the frickin' Dodgers. The Dodgers have their investment companies behind them, and they just overpay guys like Kyle Tucker. And you mentioned earlier about the like a need of a salary cap.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of like what the salary cap and floor would be?
I don't know what the numbers would be, but I do think that there are parameters that need to be put in place. And I do think that the Dodgers recognize that they can continue to take advantage of this system. Dave Roberts made mention of it directly when they made the World Series. I believe he said, like, here, let's go win the World Series and break baseball even worse. I think I'm paraphrasing here, but you look at how specifically these RSNs work, for those that are unfamiliar. I mean, these are individually brokered deals with regional sports networks, RSNs, that each team has the opportunity to essentially make as much money as possible off of. But they're not as valuable of assets. They're not all equal.
No.
As you make mention, the Dodgers make $300 million annually off of their RSN, their regional sports network.
But they have their investment companies as well.
Right.
And then like you have like Main Street Sports Group, which used to be Diamond Sports, I believe.
Right.
And they missed a payment to St. Louis and a few other Major League Baseball teams. And now they're looking at either selling off or just closing up shop entirely. And that's make them as a franchise lose like $35 million at least.
And like, to be in comparison, the Dodgers make $300 million, and teams like the Brewers make like $30 million.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just money into your pockets to use wherever you see fit. And we've seen now, what is it, well over $1 billion in contracts? Is it $2 billion in contracts?
Like $2 billion in contracts. It's like 1.185, something like that.
Like the Dodgers are in long-term contracts in total value, not annually, but like $400 million annually. And these other teams can't compete with that. So to boil it down, it's similar with RSNs or with regional sports networks. I mean, these teams are operating at a massive deficit from one another. And the NMLB is now in a position where, like, for their product, which is their goal, to be viewed nationally in every market, the MLB might have to produce them themselves, right? So
Right.
put it under MLB.TV and do it that way. And I think that that's a massive disappointment because these RSNs, at one point, it was, Fox Sports Wisconsin, and then it was Bally Sports, and then it was FanDuel Sports Network this past year. Fans are not being able to watch the game on television anymore, and that's a shame because I think most baseball fans are still an older demographic because of, I think, you live and die by these teams. It's a time of year. It's what you're looking to do during that time of year, during the summertime, throw on the baseball game. And now you got to call grandma and say, hey, do you have a smart TV? Do you have a Roku? Can you pull it up on your laptop? And they're like, what? And I'm like, what channel is it on? Sorry, grandma, it's not on TV. It's how do I find it? I guess I can try and teach you. Show you how to use it.
You just can't unless if Major League Baseball decides to just create their own channel outright.
Right. And the costs of it are egregious as well, too. You have to add an additional cable package to have these channels available to you. It's money making for the league, but it's troublesome. These regional sports networks that have been failing. FanDuel Sports Network lasted 1 year, and then it was DAZN was supposed to come in and purchase it, and that deal fell through. And now you're like, who the hell's going to be on what channel, and where can I watch it online if not on TV? And it's such a shame.
Well, it's like Jerry Reinsdorf, I believe, even started up an RSN in Chicago for like the White Sox, and even that's failing right out of the gate.
It's a shame. The Cubs in particular, they were on WGN forever, and then you flip it, and now they're on Marquee Sports Network, which is owned and operated specifically only by the team itself. So it is all a cluster, and I think that baseball is doing just fine. You look at popularity, you look at attendance, it's growing, but they're really stepping on their own foot here when it comes to the production, where you can see it, how you can view it, and how people consume these games.
Yeah. Well, it's like for a salary cap and floor, I think a appropriate floor would be at least $90 million. Look at what Tampa does with $90 million, for example, and have a cap of $220 million for 3 years. After 3 years, bump it up to like $240 and leave it sit for a while.
But now, since the Dodgers have acquired Kyle Tucker, you might as well just hand them the World Series.
Well, and that's the fear. If that baseball doesn't, would it get jammed underneath the wall for the Blue Jays, right? And they had to rule back a guy. They called that same call during a Mets game one time, and the umpire literally came out and said, "Are you kidding me?" Rolled the ball over and said it's in play. Well, and that's the thing, right? So, I mean, even with last year's roster, which is, now been added to with Kyle Tucker in particular, they were that close to losing, and that's where you would see some of these arguments of salary floors being more effective than a salary cap. Like, force the Pirates to be competitive, force the A's to be competitive, force these teams to be competitive,
because who wants to keep seeing a team that's in last place
every year,
the league every
year with no hope? And the first thought for a Pirates fan right now is not that we might have the best pitcher in baseball. It's that we're going to lose the best pitcher in baseball because we're the Pirates and Paul Skeens has no interest in being here. But whatever, deal with it, Paul. You got 5 more years until you're free agency eligible, deal with it.
Yeah, but it's like that's why there needs to be both, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
There needs to be both, but more of a salary floor so that these small market, medium market teams can have a chance at the playoffs instead of, seeing the Dodgers or the Yankees or Boston like we see every year.
Yeah, it's like we used to see St. Louis a lot, but they were at the time the smartest organization in baseball, and they would just use the whipping boy Molina and then their pixie dust bullshit that they do.
But that was also back when the Dodgers didn't just go, "Hey, that's a good free agent.
Yeah,
we're just going to take that and nobody else is going to get it."
Yeah.
And, hey, credit to the Dodgers for having the guts to do it. People always say that every team can do this. Not every team. No. But there are other teams like the Yankees that could be far more aggressive and operate in a similar fashion. The Mets have spent a lot of money in recent years. Steve Cohen has changed, certainly, their approach there. But these are other teams that can be like that. I'm grateful they're not, because I think it would be even more frustrating.
They're focused on the fans more than the money.
Right.
And I feel like, as shitty as this sounds, I think the Dodgers are going to lose most of their fan base if they continue to do this.
Well, that's a bold take. I'm not sure. Wouldn't it breed a new generation of Dodgers fans? But then it would get rid of the old generation who are at the heart of that fan base. Sure.
And then this new generation's going to go like, they're just going to say, "Oh, we'll just buy every player, and we don't care about our team. We care about our team, but we only care because we're the best team in the league."
Well, and what makes the Dodgers so frustrating and challenging is that they are a well-run organization. It's not just that they're throwing money at it, and they have an opportunity to just try and... No, they have the number one farm system still, and they have this great roster, and they have a manager. I think Dave Roberts doesn't get enough credit. He'll never win Manager of the Year because of the resources he gets to work with, but they're a really good team paired with a great organization, paired with ridiculous money being spent, and it begins and ends with just the revenue that they're bringing in general, that they can make these swings. These RSNs, where we started, Regional Sports Network, Dodgers make more money than anyone, and it's not particularly close. So, not only are they able to spend money, but they're kind of being rewarded by annual upping their regional sports contracts. Not annual, but by contract every time they get more and more money.
Yeah, the AAVs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like now we can compare the Dodgers to the Cubs organization, where the Ricketts family was like, we don't want to go anywhere near the luxury tax, so they were saying 20 to 40 million under that.
Yeah, and it's... it's a business. These pro sports teams are, first and foremost, I think, for most of these owners, business operations, and then passion projects and looking to win championships. And the Cubs won one in 2016. And I think since then, they just, all right, we won our championship. Now let's just kind of reel it back. Let's let Rizzo go. Let's let Baez go. Let's trade away Bryant. Let's completely up.
That's what the White Sox did after 2005.
And
they let all of them go, and I go, we got our ring in the 21st century. We're done.
Yep. So, Nick, you're a Cubs fan, right?
yes.
So, if since they do need an outfield bat and they also want to shed salary,
Yeah.
how opposed are you to the idea of trading either Nico or Matt Shaw to Seattle for Luke Raley and Ryan Bliss? But if you were for Nico, you would probably get like an extra prospect or two.
Yeah, I'm opposed to it because I think that what makes the Cubs special, what their value is that infield. I mean, think about that. If you're able to run out what they have on paper right now, Bregman and Swanson and Horner, and then Michael Busch, at first base, who is incredible. I think that's where you find your value. Would I be opposed to it? I think so, because I think that trading Horner means that you're trying to save money and not trying to make your team better.
What about trading Matt Shaw? Because Luke Raley does outfield and first base.
Shaw would make more sense, but you're not saving any money there. I mean,
No,
right?
you're barely saving money.
Or you're adding money, right? Because he's in his second major league season. He's going to be making, south of $1 million a year. Brewers are going through it right now. They have been so smart. That's what they do. Like Bryce Terang won his arbitration hearing, and he's making like $1.2 million. I mean, he's a platinum glover 2 years ago. And this past season, his bat woke up and became a lot better, and he's making no money. Brewers are fighting right now tooth and nail with William Contreras over, I think, like $300,000. And it's because of how the league operates that, if it was the Dodgers would be like, whatever. I mean, here you go. Here's your money.
Here's a gross overpay.
Right.
Cough,
Who cares? Just stay happy. Stay around. Right.
Yeah.
And Tucker, talking about luxury tax, it's like $120 million a year for them.
Yeah.
Because they're into the luxury tax, and you pay 110% of the annual contract once in the luxury tax. So they don't care. The Cubs, the problem is they're only operating in most cases based off of the bottom line, based off of where their money is and where exactly their luxury tax threshold is. So I would not be shocked if they traded Horner, but I'd be really disappointed if they traded him and didn't get someone that I think inspires equal level of confidence in their lineup.
Tyler, anything else you want to add?
How about Munetaka Murakami, your guy?
Hooray!
We
finally got a bat!
How about that? The White Sox taking a big swing and getting, I think, the most desirable international bat, Japanese bat this year. I was shocked.
Outside of Shohei Ohtani.
Right, but this year, right? This year, who was available to you, an opportunity? I mean, he's a power hitter. They have some concerns about him hitting fastballs. I think that was the argument. Like, he hasn't hit a home run on anything over 90 miles an hour or something. Miles per hour.
That's what spring training's for, though.
Right. And I would wonder, right? Some of these Japanese players, they lay out their parameters, what they're looking for. And it's very possible that they said, okay, I want to be in a major market, so give me New York, give me LA, or give me Chicago. And then the Cubs weren't interested or whatever. But, that was a shock to me that the White Sox were in on that type of move. And
I was shocked.
I'm sure most
You
people
were excited.
I was.
You have to be excited because it's a team that 2 years ago was the worst record in baseball. And now last year you felt some level of confidence that you got the manager right.
Now I feel a little bit more confident
that
we have the right manager, the right owner, and the right players to maybe do something with it.
Sure.
Still rebuilding. So
Still
it's gonna
rebuilding.
It's going to be like 95 to 85 losses.
I don't think they're... Here's my thing. I don't think they're going to go 95. They might go 85, the lowest.
In terms of what, wins or losses?
Losses.
You think they're that they're like a 77 and 85 team?
I would say so still, yes.
And hey, talk about a division in turmoil.
But
right?
remember, this is also this is all coming from a guy who saw the worst season they've ever had.
Worst season anyone's ever had.
Right, 40 and what was it? 40 and 121.
Yeah, 121 losses. Oh yeah, there's nowhere to go but up.
And they went up slightly, but you look at the AL Central, and it's kind of the division every year that you're like, who the hell's going to win it? And
right.
It's been the Guardians the last couple of years, but the Tigers can't figure out Tarek Skubal. Right? What the hell's next there?
Minnesota sold half their team at the trade deadline.
The Twins are in hell. They're in a lot of trouble. Cleveland's got players that are betting and throwing games.
And then Kansas City's just in the dumpster.
And Kansas City's one of those teams where it's like, okay, you'd think they might have the bones of a strong roster moving forward. And
then towards the All-Star break, it's just
Yeah.
It collapses.
And so you just wonder who's who in that division. So maybe the White Sox can rise to the top again. But
I could also say that for the NL Central as well.
right.
Because it always switches, I swear. Last year, me and Brandon, this is how we saw it. The Cubs were up here,
Yeah.
Brewers were down here, and then halfway through the season, they flipped.
Yeah.
Pirates were always at the bottom. St. Louis was second to last.
Right.
And St. Louis is they've gone full rebuild. They're selling everything that's not strapped down.
And then the Pirates,
Pirates, you know what? They're fired up about getting O'Hearn this offseason.
They're trying.
But
they only have one good player. And his name?
Paul Skeens.
He's incredible.
He's an
incredible
pitcher.
player. But yeah, the NL Central's similar, but you gotta give credit where credit's due. 4 or 5 years the Brewers have won the World Series.
I wish.
Like they won their division, won the NL Central, and they've been honestly, I think it's something like 2 or 3 total games in the last 10 years where they've been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Right? They missed the playoffs a couple of times, but it was by like a game or 2 games. So like the Brewers are always in the thick of the postseason.
And the Brewers have been in the playoffs for the last 5 years, I think.
Yeah, well, it's like 7 of the last 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So they're going up.
Yeah.
It's just that the problem is
they need a bat.
They need a bat,
Or
and
power
they
bat
also need to get
specifically.
past the super team known as the Dodgers.
And the argument would be, you look at them and you say, well, what do they need? Because they were the best team in baseball last year in record.
Right.
And that was after having allowed Willie Adames to walk and trading away Devin Williams.
Right.
And now this year, in all likelihood, they're going to trade Freddie Peralta. It's just like they just keep doing it. So whatever their recipe is, similar to what the Cardinals had forever, but without the championships, you just have to believe. That's it. You just have to blindly believe in the Brewers because it's what they do. The Cubs, on the other hand, you get to be a pessimist, and I think it's by nature what fans do. I'm like, how the hell don't they win every year? Because they have clearly the largest pool of money to work with in the division, and they always find ways to be cheap or not be as competitive as they should be. Not to mention now they're led by the former manager of the Brewers and that drama. And they lost to the Brewers in the postseason in dramatic fashion. Talk about a tough night for me. At the Badgers football game, they get shut out by Iowa. I'm doing the post-game show as they're playing Brewers highlights, having beaten my Cubs. I watched my alum, my school, get crushed by their bitter rivals in a trophy game, didn't even score a point, and the Cubs lost. But it is what it is, guys. I mean, I think we're so passionate about this topic we want to talk about it because we're worried about baseball. I mean, we like baseball.
We do.
We're major fans of baseball. And Manfred, as much crap as he gets from a lot of people, I think he has done a lot of good things in terms of the product itself. I'm a big fan of the pitch clock.
Same.
I think that was a huge, valuable
best addition so far.
I love that they got rid of the shift. Right? I think
oh my God, the shift was horrible.
Yeah, like the extreme shift could be a little ridiculous, but they still allow minor shifts in the infield.
Absolutely. Right, like reasonable, hey, I'm playing baseball, this is what baseball looks like shift, players moving around. Not, hey, we got 5 guys on the right side of the infield.
Right.
We don't even have a third baseman, and our left fielder is actually in left center. We are absolutely not. It was garbage.
This is not how we play baseball, people. Be a part of your assigned position. Stay there.
And I like the universal DH. I know there's some people who don't love it.
On it.
But
I like it.
I like the consistency of the product. That when you're playing in one place, your lineup is not allowed to be configured different than when you're playing elsewhere, right? So World Series, you're talking about.
God, I remember that.
You'd have pitchers hitting in the World Series.
Every time the White Sox would play the Cubs, they would have to have a DH or their pitcher would have to hit.
And for every time that a guy like John Lester hit a home run or Madison Bumgarner, there was 100 strikeouts or non-competitive at-bats, and it was just straight garbage. And I get it. It was kind of tradition. So
it was tradition and cool to see that 2 separate leagues operate like that.
Pitching, you got the pitch clock, you got the shift, you got the universal DH.
The only thing I think was dumb was the runner on second base and extra innings during the regular season.
The ghost runner, people are indifferent on that.
I think it's dumb. I could argue that you could start doing that like the 13th inning because at that point it's just end the game.
And you know what? That's a good point. Maybe you do it in even as aggressively as the 11th. Let them play the 10th straight and see what happens. And there's a good point there. But I would think that is a change to the product that I do believe most people are in favor of. But if you're talking about of all the things I've mentioned, that one certainly has the most opposition. I do believe that the ABS system that's going to be implemented
that's gonna be wonderful.
is going to be important and certainly valuable, and Manfred deserves credit for being aggressive in that regard. I like how they made the change when it came to pitchers, that you have to face a minimum of 3 batters.
Or injury or inning change.
Right. So I do believe that they have found different ways to make the product make more sense to people and be more streamlined. Yeah. Shaving off 40 minutes a game is great with the pitch clock. So I think the product's in a good spot. Now people are frustrated that, I have to watch an all-star lineup of 4 MVP candidates, 3 of which have won MVPs, against a team that has to field a roster on 1/5 of the payroll. That's the problem that exists.
Yes.
And baseball will find a way forward. If there's a lockout, if there's a work stoppage, I'm not going to be as upset as I think a lot of really diehard baseball fans are, but I think it needs to be fixed.
Well, we'll have, during the lockout, we'll have minor league baseball and college baseball to watch. And
there you go.
For and actually for the opening series this year between Milwaukee and the White Sox, Tyler and I were looking at actually going to that. Probably game 3, maybe game 2.
Hey man, and it feels like it's so far away and it's going to catch up with us very quickly.
It is.
Take advantage of this 2026 season, because I worry if the 27 season is going to actually happen. You would anticipate they figure it out, but it wouldn't be a shock to me if next season doesn't begin on time as they work through all these different problems.
If at all.
Yeah, I honestly think it's going to be canceled.
For the players, right? It's really hard, and you have to be selfless. Star players really have no interest in a salary cap because they're getting paid as much as they want. If a team's willing to pay them $70 million, you're going to take $70 million. But the salary cap would also raise the floor for a lot of these players, like I just mentioned, like Bryce Terang. Guys that are beginning their careers, whose career makes it 7 seasons? Only star players. Yeah. And when you're playing on a first, second, third year of a marginal MLB career, I think you deserve to make more money.
Yeah, well, it's you need the floor and cap, and the Dodgers lineup is ridiculous. And when it comes to I think it's 28 out of 30 owners want a salary cap, and most, if not all, the fans want a salary cap too, because it comes with the floor most of the time.
Right. The owners want the salary cap because they don't have to spend as much money.
Yeah, outside of the Dodgers and Steve Cohen.
Right. And even them, you know what I mean? There'd be certainly in a salary cap world, you're still one of the more desirable locations. Hey, all things equal, I'm choosing the Dodgers over the Pirates. I mean, you'd be foolish not to. But you see parity. You see the model of the NFL in particular.
We need the NFL-style revenue sharing, too, because of the RSN collapse.
And that's the thing. There are so many different things that made baseball unique, right? It's such an old sport. You had 2 different leagues, American League, National League. You merge the leagues. You have a lot of different things to try and pull together. The NFL, you merge AFL and NFL, but I mean, upon its inception, there was safeguards and different things, fail-safes that were put in place that made the sport desirable. You didn't have free agency in any of these sports until the 80s and into the 90s. Everything now is pretty streamlined for products like the NFL. In the NBA, to a degree, I think a lot of people have soured to that product because the regular season is so irrelevant.
I can't watch an NBA. I can't stand it. And NHL can't get out of their own way, because if you actually pay attention to the playoff hockey, it's one of the greatest products out there.
It's also the hardest trophy to get in all of sports.
Right, but if once. They just, again, they get in their own way. They're not good at marketing. The NFL is the greatest marketing team on the planet.
Yeah, and you look at the NHL regular season, and it's certainly not the same. These are hockey players. These are guys who are going out there every night and playing, right? I mean, there's some toughness debates about, hey, are the NBA players super soft? And look at this, hockey guys are XYZ. But, people are not locking into the NHL regular season product because they certainly look forward to what is in a lot of people's minds, the best postseason tournament, Stanley Cup playoffs, and the opportunity that awaits them there.
Why do you think half of the fan base doesn't watch the regular season? Like I don't even watch it.
Yeah, I think it's because it's so ingrained in hockey right now that specific teams are going to be competitive and be in the postseason and then ultimately be competing for these titles. That's why, you look at what the Avalanche are doing and you're really impressed by it, because I don't know if you guys have had a similar vibe, but like our childhoods were dominated by teams that are not really as competitive right now.
Not anymore.
I'm loosely a Blackhawks fan. I barely ever watch hockey at all.
Yeah.
But they were competing for titles my whole childhood. And now they're in the gutter, and they're stuck in the gutter, but they have a shiny object in Bedard.
Yeah, and they're like improving. They're going to barely miss the playoffs this year.
Right, and that's good. Linear growth. But
yeah.
The Golden Knights come in immediately, and maybe the NHL screwed up that expansion draft, allowing them to build such a quality roster right away. They get Fleury in goal. I think that was the one that most people looked at as like the most valuable asset that they got in the expansion draft. But
and then here comes Seattle and Utah.
Right, and
Utah is a relocation thing though.
But they still had to.
Right.
Get a team.
Right.
Yeah.
Together.
But Seattle was significantly weaker upon its inception after the lessons they learned from the Golden Knights being established. But each of these leagues have their warts. But I think the model that most fans gravitate towards is something that they can understand, and the NFL is the most straightforward in what you can understand. There isn't, in the NBA, there's the first apron and the second apron of luxury tax, and people don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. My only gripe with football, more specifically the NFL, is that they don't even play the full 60 minutes. They only play like 11 to 18 minutes, and most of the plays take 7 to 20 seconds to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that your gripe is that there's time in the huddle and going to the line of scrimmage.
They're mostly standing around for most of it.
Yeah, I mean that's football though. I mean
it's what football is.
It's your consumption of the product. I get it. Like if you're looking for consistent action, you gravitate towards the NHL. You gravitate towards, that's like saying that in baseball, that the majority of the game is a guy standing at the plate, warming up, taking some practice swings as the pitcher looks in, makes a decision, throws the ball. Oh, it's a strike.
God, remember before the pitch clock, games used to take 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, 3.5, 4 hours.
Postseason games in particular, right? I mean, you'd have guys shake things off, step off the mound.
My thing is that I get you have a gripe with the NFL. I get you have a gripe with football. You don't care about it.
That's really
fine.
don't.
That's fine. But don't put a gripe on what you see in football. Oh, they're huddling. Oh, they're getting ready for a play.
I don't have a problem with huddling, but I think they
okay. They're let me finish. They're getting ready for the play. Oh, they're just wasting time. Half of that time is getting, that play clock doesn't move until they hike the football. But you like you just said with the MLB, you could also say that, the pitcher, the batter's taking practice swings, he's looking out where he wants to hit the ball. Pitcher's going he's looking at the catcher, shaking his head yes or no, saying, I want this pitch.
Well, now, pitch comm now.
Now they got pitch comm, so they're like, I can't hear you. What? And then they take their pitch comm thing out, they wave it in the air, and then someone has to run out and replace it.
And now next year,
yeah,
you're gonna have this.
But I don't have a problem with for NFL. I don't have a problem with the huddles. I have a problem with the play clock. Just keep on running. They're just still standing around. I would be more in favor of 5-minute quarters where after every single play the clock is stopped, so they can still do their huddles and stand around, and they can take commercial breaks as they need to.
Well, with a limited attention span, and I'm not trying to insult the human race, football is the most digestible because of that.
Yeah.
That because you don't have to watch every second of it.
You don't have to think.
You can leisurely enjoy it. You can go on your phone. You can interact with people.
Baseball.
Oh, wait, 1 second. Here's the snap. Incomplete. Back to what you were doing, right?
Baseball's the same way.
And baseball's the same in a lot of ways.
Way. You're looking at your phone, pitcher's getting ready to pitch, and go,
next.
Right.
Okay, it's a strike. All right, next.
And that's I think that's part of the allure, part of the love for these particular sports. Because if you do rank them in terms of popularity, it goes NFL, college football, baseball, NBA, NHL, right? So it's is that not in exact order of what action you need to watch at what time? NHL, you have to watch everything because the players don't stop.
The players don't stop.
The whistle doesn't. The only time they stop is when the whistle blows.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they score a goal and they celebrate.
And I've never liked racing, but you know what I mean? Racing's only interesting if there's like
God,
a wreck or something. I'm sorry. And praying
dad,
for good health.
My dad has always been a NASCAR nut, but you know, I'm starting to kind of get into it a little bit, but just to kind of keep that tradition alive with my father.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's an American sport, so
right.
I take value in that. I mean, I love to support our
just
country.
that's
I just have
like,
no interest.
That's just like the WWE and the freaking UFC and the MMAs.
Right.
I'd rather watch the UFC than the WWE.
I think a lot of people feel that way, but still, it's entertainment, and a lot of people love their WWE. I've never.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like I don't care for racing. I don't really care for tennis. And then
Oh god, tennis and golf are the most boring sports.
Soccer.
Soccer.
I am not into. I can't.
Well, from a global
European-
perspective,
European soccer is better.
from a
That's
global
fair.
perspective, that is the most
watched.
watched,
Yeah.
most consumed, most important sport.
Well, yeah, because if you go down to, like, say, Mexico, or you go over to England, or you go over to, say, Italy, what's the number one sport that they play?
Soccer.
Soccer.
Right. And talk about
Football.
24/7 action. I mean, in the entire game, there's a running clock.
And we have the World Cup coming up too.
Right,
So.
which will be cool to have here in the U.S. But, I mean, there's so many different things that attract people to these different sports. Talk about dumb money. I mean, European soccer.
No. Talk about dumb money. The Olympics are kind of dumb money.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when you're talking about Olympics, typically the host country loses a bunch of money.
Yeah, they do.
It's so expensive to host and all these different things.
And then you see the aftermath of, like, the stadiums they have to build.
never used
That's
again.
never used again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
It's a waste.
It's a waste of time.
Sports are certainly a lot of people's passion, including mine. But baseball is one of those sports where it's like they have spent so much time trying to withhold and maintain legacy and tradition. And in recent years, they've become a far more modern sport with all the changes I highlighted. And I think that as much as you want to hold on to the sport that you've loved forever, the Dodgers are exploiting it. And I think it's going to be taken care of, hopefully, in this next
CBA, yeah.
next CBA in a year.
But my thing is that with the CBA, there has to be a lockout. There's probably,
probably.
There could not be, but most likely it's going to impact the entire season.
Well, I think like I said, the MLB Players Association is not.
They're strong.
They're not going to want the salary cap.
Yeah,
there's no
strongest
benefit
players
to a
union.
player. I mean, your earning opportunity is shrunk immediately, but
But I mean, we kind of.
fans
we
recognize
need
it's
it.
needed.
Yeah.
and that'll be reflected in terms of viewership and different things. If 27 comes and there's no salary cap, I do think that there will be a very significant response by the consumers, which
I
would
think
be
the fans
turning
they
it
don't-
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
turning it off, not watching it
Yeah,
anymore.
like put a salary cap where we're not like going to attend most of the games.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the pod today.
Of course, dudes. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then you can contact Tyler and I on let'schatbt@gmail.com. You can follow us on X/Twitter, same thing. And then the YouTube channel has everything, including the exclusive stuff for the Glenwood Moravian Trombone Choir. And we have a Facebook announcement page. We have a Discord that's not really in use. We would like to get that used again. And we have the Facebook community group. Until next time, bye.